Remember that small town in Maine with the vampire problem? Well, for some reason, we are going back. Here are 19 reasons to watch A Return to Salem's Lot. Hi everyone, I'm Dave Musson at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is a place where I talk to you about Stephen King, and in particular, I'm taking you through the movies and adaptations and sequels of Stephen King's works in chronological order, and we're still in 1987 and a tricky one, A Return to Salem's Lot. I'll get to that in a moment, but first, a couple of things to plug, and I will keep these quick because, well, all the links are in the descriptions anyway, so let's just rattle through them. Listen to the Constant Writers podcast. It's where I talk to indie horror authors about them, their work and their relationship with Stephen King. Chat a bit about them, then we geek out on a King book. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch them right here on YouTube. Do go and check them out. Other things you can do, sign up to my newsletter. Every week you get a short story from me and an indie horror author recommendation. And you can pick up the ultimate Stephen King quiz book, which I wrote and published last year. It's really good fun. Do check it out. Should have mentioned on the email list, if you do subscribe to the email, you get a book of my short fiction for free just for signing up, and you'll get occasional plugs for my other collections that I've published this year, Tiny Tales of Terror volumes 1 and 2, which you can pick up on Amazon. And lastly, yeah, I'm on Letterboxd as well. We're talking movies now, so come and find me on Letterboxd. I'll follow you back. Let's swap reviews, let's compare lists, and you can watch how my overall Stephen King ranking builds up in real time. Okay, that's the plugs done. So like last time, we're in 1987 and we're covering a sequel, but this is a different one, a much maligned one, A Return to Salem's Lot. Now, I did consider making this video my first 19 reasons to avoid watching something. Such are my feelings about A Return to Salem's Lot, but I'm a King completist and I'm naturally an optimist. So I like to think that everything out there is worth checking out at least once. That being said, not all of the reasons I'm going to go through here will be positive. Now, on these 19 reasons, I will drop a spoiler alert at the point in the list where they potentially become spoilerific. So if you've not had the pleasure of watching A Return to Salem's Lot yet, you may want to bail at that point. I mean, you may not even want to get started in the first place. I wouldn't hold that against you. But anyway, if you've not watched it, there's a spoiler alert coming. If you have watched it, hey, watch to the end and let me know what you think of this interesting movie. At the time of recording, I couldn't find it available anywhere on streaming, but you can spend money and buy it if you want to on the usual big outlets, including right here on YouTube. Okay, we might as well rip this sticking plaster off. Here are 19 reasons, sort of, to watch A Return to Salem's Lot. Okay, headline reason. Come one all and see how somebody can take quite wonderful IP and shit the bed with it. This is quite fascinating to see how this one pans out. So the history of this one really helps set expectations. So this is a Larry Cohen film, and Larry Cohen actually wrote the first screenplay for the 1979 miniseries of Salem's Lot. However, it was so bad that it was rejected. But for whatever reason, Warner decided nearly 10 years later to approach him and ask him to make a low-budget theatrical release as a sequel to that. And it flopped, unsurprisingly. It was pulled from theatres after just 1 week. Also, you might note on the poster that there's Barlow from the original series. Yeah, he's not in this. Not at all. It's basically clickbait, but on a poster in the 1980s. The main problem here is that Cohen is clearly trying to do something meaningful. He wants to make this a comment on America in the late 80s, on capitalism, and he wants to inject some humour in there as well. And he fails miserably in all 3 attempts.
If not, I'll send his soul straight to hell. Good day, dear.
So the rough plot is that lead character Joe is an anthropologist who ends up going back to his old hometown of Salem's Lot with his son, Jeremy.
Didn't they just tell you? I'm fucked up.
Only to discover that the town is a vampire colony. Instead of leaving, they decide to stay and Joe agrees to try and write their Bible? Yeah. So the vampires in the lot now tend to feed mainly on cows because human blood in 1987 is just a bit too risky. Now that could have been an interesting cutting take on the AIDS crisis, but it just doesn't work, and it just leaves you thinking, why? It's a vampire movie. Have them eating people, or at least drinking their blood. I don't know what vampires do. Let's look at the cast. Michael Moriaty as Joe is pretty bad.
You got something in your eye.
What?
Here.
Oh!
Watch the camera.
Samuel Fuller as Van Meer is pretty bad.
Well, maybe you can help me. I'm looking for a friend of mine.
And Andrew Duggan as Judge Axel is pretty bad.
Mr. Professional Anthropologist.
To be honest, they're all pretty bad. This movie was also the feature debut of one Tara Reid, who is also pretty bad, but I will let her off on this one because she was a literal child at the time and didn't know better. This was also the final movie starring June Havoc before her death. Yeah, she was pretty bad.
A somebody in his own time.
So lastly, before spoilers, how about some quotes from reviews of this to really tempt you in? Okay, I think you'll enjoy these. Let me just pull them up on my screen here. So, Jim Skembry of The Age noted that the film outstays its welcome after about 5 minutes. And then we've got the Des Moines Register, which said it plays like a movie made by people who've heard about how movies are made, but who've never seen one. However, on the flip side, DVD Talk does call it too interesting to miss. And, well, for me, yeah, if you've got a spare evening and you're really desperate, it's worth a look. Okay, this is your spoiler alert. If you've not watched A Return to Salem's Lot yet and you want to go in knowing no more than I've already revealed, then this is your point to bail and do come back soon. But otherwise, do stick around because I've got a few more reasons to watch, or maybe not watch, A Return to Salem's Lot coming right up. Right, let's be clear, in case it wasn't already, this has nothing to do with the original miniseries and nothing to do with the magnificent 1975 novel. It's just an IP grab and it is awful.
Vampires!
Something that is impressive about this movie is how fucking boring they can make a town that is a vampire colony. I mean, to fuck that premise up takes some doing.
This town sucks.
So this is a vampire movie. You're probably here for the blood. You are going to be disappointed. There's a great scene at the start of the movie with blood. Has nothing to do with vampires. The rest of it, well, not a lot. Okay, time for my favourite line. I do not have one. This script is fucking hideous. As for my favourite scene, oh, well, actually, I will admit that the part where Judge Axel gets impaled by a US flag is pretty cool and also cheesy as fuck. The fun fact for you, Jill Gatsby, who plays Shelley, is Larry Cohen's daughter, and as she has done in every film of his that she's been in, she is killed. Yeah, he kills his own daughter in every film that he puts her in. I mean, I've heard of not liking your kids, but there's got to be healthier ways of dealing with that, surely. Okay, I'm struggling now. The child wedding stuff is creepy? Oh, and apparently the kids swear more than the adults in this, which I guess is kind of interesting. Look, I'm clutching at straws now. Only one more to go, though.
Are you good for anything but swearing and smoking?
Okay, last one. Now, to me, this movie has a lot to answer for. This is, as far as I can see, the first kind of sequel that isn't really tied to anything. It's just that IP grab. And it didn't do well. It flopped. It was patterned. And yet, studios since have been clamouring to make more of these. Just look at all of the Children of the Corn sequels, Lawnmower Man, other things that even don't get made but get talked about. Stuff that I'm probably going to have to cover on here. But it feels like you can trace it back to A Return to Salem's Lot. So, yeah. I mean, what the fuck?
Oh, you mean Salem's Lot? Don't ever go to Salem's Lot.
So there we go, 19 reasons, sort of, to watch A Return to Salem's Lot. Let me know in the comments what you think of this movie. Am I just misreading it? Or do you also think it's, well, shit, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And hey, we've done this one now, so we can move on. Sure, there's some other bad things on the horizon, but for now, we're done with this one. Okay, a few quick things to plug. The quiz book, do check it out. The podcast, do check that out. The newsletter, do subscribe. My Letterboxd profile, come say hi. And Instagram, @Dave Musson, I'm there as well. Hey, we did it, guys. We've done a Return to Salem's Lot. And next time, I'm back with a book special. So, we can move on, and it's only upwards from here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.